Most people think retirement is 2 stages, working and then not working. But it's not that simple.
In reality, it unfolds in many stages, some of them exciting, some of them challenging, and often some of them take you off guard.
Today, we're going to break down the 5 stages of retirement so you can know where you are, what you need to do to get to the next phase, and making sure that you're living the best life ever in your retirement. I remember so clearly my friend Jerry Abels, who was a underwriter at the Aetna Insurance Company. I'm going back 40 years now, maybe even 40, 45 years. I just got into business. I was just selling insurance, working for my dad. And I remember this older guy, Jerry, he'd sit with me, he'd meet with me, he mentored me, he told me a lot of things that I needed to know about insuring a business. So he was great. And we had a relationship that probably went on for about 7 years. And the last 2 years, I remember he just kept describing and reveling in the concept and idea that he's going to retire in 2 more years when he turns 65. And I remember he retired. I went to his retirement party. I was so honored to be there. And then I would check in on him once in a while. I would ask some of the people who were still there, how's Jerry doing? What's he up to? And his vision of his retirement was sitting on his front porch, putting the TV out there, watching the ball games, and having a couple of beers. He just really felt like he needed some rest, and he wanted to sit back, kick his heels up, and take it easy. And he did, until one day I found out that poor Jerry Abels passed away 2 years into his retirement. And it was such a sad story for me, and I can't forget it. I can't forget those words. And that's why Jody and I worked so hard to realize that there's more to retirement than sitting on the front porch and watching TV. Same thing that my dad did. He didn't sit on the porch, but he spent a lot of time watching TV, and his life slowly disappeared in front of him.
You know, it's funny when you tell that story about Jerry, it reminds me of many stories that we hear through people we meet, people we coach, people in our masterminds or master classes, that the anticipation of retirement was almost more fulfilling for Jerry than the actual event of retirement.
And that is the first stage.
Yeah.
Anticipation. It's exciting. It's wondrous. It's imagination. It's knowing you're going to get rid of this tight schedule that you have that locks you to your desk and brings you into the office every day at 8 o'clock. And you can't leave till 4:30 or 5. And you just can't wait to just unleash that and just live this life that we've been sold. And I will tell you, they are lies, that it's not just about sitting on the beach drinking pina coladas, but for decades, that's what we've all imagined life is supposed to be like.
You know, it's almost like when we took our kids to Disney for the first time and we built it up and we talked about all the things we were going to do, and we really romanticized Disney.
Yeah.
Almost made them feel like they were going to be the only ones there. And then you get to Disney, and it's what? Lines, expensive food. And I'm not downplaying
That's a great
Disney.
analogy.
If you're a Disney fan, I love you for it. But what we had done was we built up so much of the vision of Disney for our kids in our own way. It's almost like that for retirement. You build up this vision for yourself, and then you get there, and you're like, oh, crap. You know, instead of there being lines, maybe you're feeling lonely. You know, instead of it being pina coladas and warm, sunny days, maybe you live in an area where you have hurricanes or tornadoes. I don't know what, but that correlation to me just kind of came. And I think it's great for this first stage, because that anticipation, you know what a kid looks like when they're getting on a plane going to Disney. Is that what you looked like when you were getting ready to retire?
And you might be feeling that too. Maybe you're in that phase and you're getting really, really excited about it, because the next phase is the honeymoon phase. Now, we're married, and I remember our honeymoon. We knew each other, but we didn't really know each other, so we were feeling each other out. Well,
our honeymoon was with 6 kids, your mom and dad, my mom and dad, my nieces and nephews, my brother and sister.
See what I'm saying? We didn't get a chance to know each other. There's the honeymoon phase. But it's
our honeymoon was not a honeymoon.
That's true.
That is
you
so
probably
true.
should have one.
We could use a honeymoon.
So we the honeymoon phase. So you're in retirement. You've unleashed yourself from the office. Like Jerry, you're sitting time doing some of the things that you really wanted to do, that you anticipated, that you got excited about. It's like the rides at Disney. You're finally on the ride and it feels great, the wind blowing in your hair. So this honeymoon phase, you're starting to see the goodness of retirement, but then you're also starting to feel, this isn't exactly what I thought it was.
Yeah.
There's a couple things maybe that are different than I thought it was. I'm realizing I can't watch TV all day long.
Right.
I'm getting bored.
Yeah. And you're running out of things to do, running out of things to say. And, after the honeymoon or during the honeymoon, you start thinking about real life. And I don't know, we kind of had real life in our honeymoon, as I said, with 6 kids and both our sets of parents and, all the things. I think Johnny even had friends from college.
He did.
We had
a gaggle of people.
We had a gaggle of people. So reality set in pretty quick for us in our honeymoon. We had to do the grocery shopping. We had to cook the dinners. We had to schedule, beach tags and get beach chairs and all the things that we had to do. And what happens in the correlation to a real honeymoon and this honeymoon phase in retirement is real world starts to set in. And then you start to determine for yourself, how am I going to respond to this?
Well, the other thing that starts is that you lose structure in your day. When you had your career, there was structure and you had a reason to get up in the morning and a place to go. In retirement, in the honeymoon phase, there is no structure unless you create it, but there is no natural structure. So all of a sudden you're starting to think, is this it? What's next? Isn't there more? Which leads us into the next phase. Well, before we get into that, click the link below in the show notes, 6 steps to kickstart your retirement experience. It's a wonderful tool. It's free. We want you to make sure that if you are in this phase and you're either in any of these phases today, download this document. It really is super helpful to kickstart your retirement. But the third phase is delusionment. Did I say that right? Because I'm so bad at...
No, I think it's disillusionment.
See, I have a speech impediment, don't I? What's it called?
You don't.
Eclectic? Disillusionment. I still can't say it. Disillusionment. We should do a speaking course. So now all of a sudden you're starting to wonder, this isn't enough. I need more. But I don't know what I need. I just miss my friends at work. I miss the structure. I miss the identity that I had. People say to me, what am I doing now? Well, I'm retired. I'm not doing much. I'm doing what I thought I would do, which is nothing. But I'm also starting to realize I think I need more.
So I think this is where a lot of retirees get stuck. They get stuck in this phase because they know that they should be and feel grateful for the fact that they're retired. And so you have this kind of burden of feeling grateful. Why am I not happy? Why am I not feeling grateful? Why am I not engaged? Why am I not, kicking my heels up every day and just, kind of happy to be alive? So there's this desire to want more, but more of what is what the real question is. And I think that's where, if you get stuck in that phase, people start to regret retiring. And then we hear from people and they'll say, I should have never retired. I retired too early. I need to get back to work. And, they pivot very quickly.
Yeah.
Once they're in this stage, after the honeymoon stage, the trips are over, the fun is done, friends are still working, people are still busy. You're not really sure what to do. So you want more, but more of what? And if you find yourself in this stage, keep watching and watch more videos because there's a way to get through that.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is where people get stuck and then they end up just withering away and passing away and dying well before their time. So the way to get through this is to, if you're lucky enough and if you're watching, really pay attention, where you start to reclaim a new identity, where you start to find some new purpose, where you start to find the ability to learn something new, to give back or to recreate who you are, which leads into the reinvention stage. And that's where a lot of people say, I don't need to reinvent, I'm fine who I am. Okay, well, If you're stuck in a disillusionment phase,
Very good.
very good, you want to find a way out, because this is and will be and can be the greatest time of your life. But you've got to put some effort into this fourth phase, which is reinventing yourself.
Yeah, and this is where you can really dive deep into what are your passions, what are your dreams, what are your goals, what's on your bucket list, who is on your bucket list, who do you want to do things with, when do you want to do these things, why do you want to do these things. This reinvention stage is a really great time for self-reflection, for journaling, for, talking out loud to others, for finding community and looking for groups of people that share perhaps this same struggle, albeit you might be embarrassed to be struggling in this phase. So this reinvention stage is really your chance to step forward and launch.
And we're in the midst of the 6th week of our 8-week annual masterclass on From Drift to Discovery, where we take people through this process. And this week we talked about growth and discovery, how to really start to understand who you are, and maybe some skills, talents, and values that you can bring forward to reinvent yourself. And next week is the session on purpose and contribution, really trying to find what it is you can do, which is the 5th phase, the fulfillment phase, when you actually do find something that you can do. A teacher, a mentor, a coach, the best grandparent ever. Start a men's coffee group, start a women's book club, join a Bible study group, join the local YMCA and start taking some gym classes to build muscle, eat a lot of good protein so that you can have not just longevity, but not just lifespan, but health span. Yeah. So you can live longer and be healthier and not be limited by ending up having trouble getting out of a chair. So having this fulfillment phase come to life, it's really where your next 20 or 30 years can be absolutely amazing.
And I think that the thing about the fulfillment stage is it's not a static stage. If you retire at, let's say, 65 and you plan on living, or you're going to work as hard as you can to live till 95, there's no place that says the fulfillment stage will be the same for the next 30 years. There's no perfection in the fulfillment stage. And I think that's really important. People always ask us, am I getting it right? And the question is, are you getting it right for yourself? How do you feel about what you're doing every day? How do you feel about the community you built? How do you feel about the contributions you're making? How do you feel about the relationships that you have? Those are the key aspects as you move through the fulfillment stage, and those will all change over the course of the next 20 or 30 years.
So it's so important to understand these 5 phases, where you are, what you need to do to get to the next phase, and how you can spend the next 20 or 30 years living the most amazing life ever, because you only get one shot at this. You only retire once. Now, some people end up getting frustrated and they go back to work, which is fine. We're working part-time, and we certainly encourage that. So if you're thinking of retirement and you're in the early stages, maybe think about, can you stay where you are now and work 10 hours a week to keep a little bit of that going and transition into this? But let's take some questions from our team that put together. Hi, I'm Susan. I'm 65. I thought I would love the freedom, but I'm already feeling lost. How do you find purpose again? Well, it's a great question, and it's a process. And we're actually going through that process now with the people in our masterclass. But it's really thinking about, here's a quick little tip. Spend some time looking at your career. And I mean, go back to jobs you had in high school. What were the jobs that you did? What did you like about them? What didn't you like about them? And when you were doing it, how did it make you feel? And if you do that, going all the way back to all the jobs and roles that you have, all of a sudden, when you go back and look at that sheet and you circle all the ones where you felt great, you felt excited, you felt like you had purpose, you're going to start to see there's something there that maybe I can do. We're coaching someone right now who's a teacher. She taught for 40 years, finally retired, couldn't wait to retire. Now she's lost. But one of the things she loved doing was giving piano lessons after school to kids. So now she's thinking about starting that up again as a way to have some fulfillment.
That's great.
Okay, next question. Hi, this is George. I'm 70 years old. My wife and I are at different stages. How do we get back on the same page?
George, I would say it all starts with baseline communication, creating a safe space where you both can talk about what you really want, when you want to do it, and with whom you want to do it. If you want to travel and your wife doesn't want to travel, how do you make that work for your retirement and also for hers?
Very good. This is Robert. I'm 71. I'm in the disillusionment stage. What's one small thing that helps you move forward? I think one thing to do is if you're in this stage and you're like, gosh, this isn't really what I thought it would be, start spending some time writing down the parts of your retirement that you do like. Like you like getting up at the same time. You like going to the gym. You like having coffee with friends. Even if you've only done it once in a month, think back and go, I really enjoyed that. Start doing more of those things on a more consistent basis.
I also think anytime you find yourself contributing or serving others and you get a drive from that, you get a charge of energy from that, you get maybe a spiritual calling for that, I think you start to get more direction.
Yeah. Hope you enjoyed this video. This next one, give me 15 minutes and I'll save you 6 years of retirement mistakes, is a great video to watch next. We uncover the typical mistakes that most people make when they enter this phase of life.